Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Ones Ready podcast, the official, unofficial podcast of the United States Air Force. And today we have United States Air Force recruiter with us. His name is Master Sergeant Gerald Romo. What's up, bro? Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Appreciate you guys having me on, brother. Thank you so much.
Oh, of course. We met out in near Sacramento. I don't know, in some random Northern California town. You're part of the Northern California crew, right?
Correct, yeah. So I'm a recruiting flight chief in the 364 recruiting squadron. We're going to cover down from the Oregon coast all the way down to like the San Jose area.
Jeez, that's I think we forget how much it is. It's a lot.
It is a lot. So all the recruiters are spread out all over the place. It's a very unique and different mission than what we look at the operational side, but it definitely holds its value to what we need.
All right. Well, speaking of operational side, obviously you didn't join as a recruiter. So a little bit of background. We got to build some trust with the people so they can trust what you're
Yeah,
saying later on in the podcast. You know what I mean?
yeah. Let's lay it down so everybody can kind of get to know me and understand that I'm really a recruiter and I'm really a part of the Air Force.
Yeah.
So I started my career in 2011 in June, so that puts me right about 13 years. Originally from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I joined the Air Force just because I had nothing else going on, right? That's kind of the reason that I want to have this conversation today is to talk about what recruiting is and kind of the opportunities that presents itself. Yeah, so I joined in 2011. I came in open mechanical, which is a mechanical aptitude now, which is a little unheard of. It's basically going into basic training without a guaranteed contract, just knowing you're going to land somewhere in that mechanical world. I ended up in a ground transportation. I did
Okay.
a couple deployments through there. That job is just primarily logistical transportation, buses, forklifts, tractor trailers, all that fun stuff. I moved up to a command staff for a couple years, and then I applied to be a recruiter, and here I am now, almost 4 years later. Recruiting will probably be my ride into the sunset until I punch it out of here in 20.
Well, it's one of those things, right? It used to be you couldn't stay in recruiting forever or it was super rare. And now we realized that, like, if you have no consistency, then you have no consistency. So how long ago did they change all that?
It's been quite a while to where they allowed people to start going into the tiers is what we have in recruiting now. So tier 1, 2, and 3. And you're right, it is to keep that you develop a certain subject matter expert in the world of recruiting and marketing, and it's hard when we lose those and we have to rebuild a new individual. So we want to keep people in recruiting that enjoy it and go out there and make it happen.
Right. And it's tough, though. Not everybody enjoys it. I was out there with y'all, and there were definitely some folks that are like, I cannot wait to get out of here. And that's fine. They did their time, but it's time to go. But for the folks that are, really excel in those things, like we talk about this across the board in the Air Force, right? Like on the AFSOC side, we'd get support folks, and we're like, these are the greatest people of all time. Can we please keep them on our side of the fence? And they love it here, and we love them. And they'd be like, no, they got to go back to the big blue Air Force. And we'd be like, this doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, it's great to keep when someone enjoys the job, you want to keep them in that job for as long as possible. And I will agree with you, recruiting is not tailor-made for everybody.
Yeah.
The Air Force isn't tailor-made for everybody. Our special warfare community is not tailor-made for anybody. But there's one thing that each successful person has in all of these career fields. That's a positive attitude. As long as you go into anything believing you're going to be really good, the chances of you being really good skyrocket, right?
You really are a recruiter, aren't you? All this
I'm
positivity and stuff.
Well, I consider myself one of the best.
Yeah. All right. Well, we do have a list of questions. So, yeah, appreciate you being on here. And before anybody gets to the weird idea that I'm actually being professional about this, Peaches came up with the questions, wrote them down, sent them to me. So, just don't get it twisted. Peaches chiefed us up. We have a list of questions. If there's anything else you want to talk about, Master Arndt, obviously we'll talk about that as well because you're the man with the expertise. But these are the questions that we get on a regular basis. And is that okay if we just start off with number one?
Yeah, so we'll shoot through most of these questions, and then I'll kind of dive into realistically what we're looking for to build our special warfare community in the recruiting side.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so number one is what are the eligibility requirements to join AFSW? For example, age, citizenship, yada, yada.
Yeah, so it's the same standard as RegAF, so we're still looking from anywhere from, you can start the process at 17, but we're looking from 18 to 41. I mean, if there's those go-getters that are really getting it at that later age in life, there's still an opportunity for them. You do have to be a U.S. citizen, and you do have to have at least your high school diploma.
Okay, yeah, those are always big ones, and it's I don't know if I could do your job because I feel bad a lot of the time when I'll get these folks talking to us. They'll hit us with the DMs. They're motivated, they're excited, and they're like, "Do I have to be a citizen, or do I have to have this or that?" And it's like, "Yeah, dude, yeah, sorry." So, like, if someone's not a citizen, is there a roundabout path to get to where they want to go?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're going to have to join REGAF in some form or fashion, and then they can get their citizenship through the United States Air Force, and then they can look into cross training into Air Force Special Warfare at that point in time. But there's always a way to yes, right? That's the way we want to look at things. There's always a way that we can try our best to make it work. And in those early conversations, tactful dismissing somebody and kind of coaching them on what the next couple steps could be to help them is what recruiters are really good at.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably one of the few times that we would recommend somebody join RegAF first and then try to cross train. Most people are like, just go in the first time. If you don't make it, it's not like it's fine, but at least you've seen behind the curtain, and you're going to get another opportunity later on to retrain. So, yeah, let's move on. Question number 2: what is the ASVAB score requirement?
So we're looking at your general score mostly for our special warfare folks. So we want them to score high in the general category. Your Armed Forces qualifying test score for the Air Force it's a 31, but for special warfare we're looking for I believe it's upwards of above a 40 on that general score.
I think it's
So
isn't it 50? Sorry, I don't know. It's been a
it
while since I was in the seat.
you're pro we'll have to double check that number, but it's I know it's up on that general score that we need them to look at. um, and that's going to qualify them or not. But that is the most basic standard for special warfare. Really, where it gets difficult is finding those individuals athletically who could excel in the requirements to get in, because the ASVAB is just the teeny tiny first step for our special warfare counterparts. It's getting them, into the development sessions and getting them really into the standards of special warfare.
Dude, and I want to talk about the DFT and the IFT too. But like one of the things that comes up often is, I took the ASVAB, I scored like a 39 or a 48 or whatever it is that didn't qualify them, right? How many times can you retake it, and what are the timestamps? Like, is there a certain amount of time you have to wait before you retake it again?
Yeah, your first fail is 30 days. And typically, good recruiters, I will say, are going to be practice testing you. They're going to be looking at that score rather than just sending you back up. Uh, and it goes in increments of 30 days. So if you fail it a second time, we're looking at 60 days, so on and so forth. Um, but the big thing is putting in that study time and working hand in hand with that recruiter to say, hey, I want to take a practice test, or I want to be ready before I go up there. Don't ever go into a situation blind thinking that you're going to be successful. You've got to put the work in up front. With today's technology, it's so much different, right?
Yeah.
There's apps. You can get on Instagram and find tutors. You can get on YouTube and watch videos. There's 1,000 different ways to prepare yourself for the ASVAB, but you just got to put the work in up front.
Well, the big Air Force recruiting Instagram page throws up practice questions all the time, right? I think I
All
unfollowed them because it was so annoying.
Yeah,
For
even
me.
as a recruit, after you are away from the ASVAB for so long, as a recruiter, you would think I would retake it just to check it out. I don't want to put myself through that, so so I
It's
stay
funny.
far away from it and just give them the advice, hey, go study. But
Yeah, I mean it's not crazy, but it is. It's the first your intro to military academic testing, and we do things
hmm
probably a little bit different than your high school did it. So like, yeah, get those practice runs in and figure it out. And once you get that, then it is like you said, we want to see physically where you're at. And this is a little bit different than I think it used to be. Now the EA recruiters give them a different test, and then you book them, and then they have to pass the IFT or whatever. Obviously, I don't know what I'm talking about. Please help me.
yeah, so we have some developmental standards that has been introduced very recently to help push the mission along, because typically we have to hire out scouts and different people to run those initial fitness tests officially. So we're kind of weeding out with the DFT. So flight chiefs, so individuals who we got to be CPR certified. We got to go through some training to be able to conduct this test. We've been giving this test out a lot more frequently, because what I'll get into a little bit is typically for Air Force Special Warfare recruiting, it's a difficult mission, right?
Right.
Um, you're looking for truly that diamond in the rough to come into an EA office and say, oh, I think I'm interested in special warfare, and then actually go put the work in on an IFT or a DFT. It's, you don't really see it, but truthfully, it's because we don't recruit in the right areas. That is as simple as I can put it. We're not going out and finding the people who can actually make this happen. Um, so I'm going to go on a little tangent if you're okay with that. I'm going to go
Yeah.
into a little bit of a backstory here. So growing up, my whole life, athlete. I love sports. I played sports since I was a little kid, all the way growing up through high school and everything like that. When I got into high school, I got real serious. I was a high school wrestler. I was around some of the best wrestlers in the country. Um, and our fitness standards were insane, right? Because we could go out there and we could do 1,000 different things because we work out every single day as a high school athlete. And my mindset going into graduation was probably what 99.9 of these young high school athletes think. I'm going to go play college sports somewhere, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
go
Naturally. Of course.
naturally. Football, soccer, basketball, baseball, whatever the sport you play, there's a likelihood in your brain you're thinking you're going to go play college. And I'm not here to tell them that they cannot. I'm here to put a little reality in to the seniors who have not received a scholarship offer. You may need to start looking at other routes. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to use myself as an example. I thought I was a good wrestler. Later on in life, I figured that I was very average, right?
Right. Yeah.
Looking back at it now. Uh, but when I graduated high school, there was no scholarship offers. There was nowhere to go be a high school wrestler for fun, right? I wasn't, during high school, I wasn't focused on trigonometry and human biology and all these other classes that were going to propel me into a good college program. I was focused on being the best athlete that I could possibly be. And
Well,
when that all fell through, I didn't know what step number 2 was.
right. Well, wrestling is like physics, right? So you're pretty good at physics.
I mean, maybe not today, but I mean, I could still probably take somebody down if I need to, right? But
So you were lost though, right?
100%. And I see it so often where these individuals put this focus on athletics so heavily because we love it. You're in love with it. It is your life. And when it goes away, you don't know where to go from there.
Yeah. What are
And
you
I
gonna do?
sat and I sat there. I didn't join the Air Force until I was 21 years old. So I wasn't a straight out of high school kid. I had to navigate through life trying to figure it out. And I came up with this program a few years back called Air Force Targeting Athletes because in the special warfare community, nobody thinks about the Air Force and really puts us into a special warfare category. We
Yeah.
have to work double hard to ensure that individuals know what we do in our special warfare community. So I thought about myself at that age, and at 18, could I have passed an IFT? Yes, absolutely. Right.
Right.
With the work that we did as a high school athlete, I could have easily walked in. I don't want to say easily, but I could have walked in and done well at an IFT. As a 21-year-old who was eating out and hanging out and, 21, just getting my liquor license, I'll say, could I have passed an IFT at that point? No. That fitness standard goes away. You're never more in love with it than you are at that ripe age of 18 graduating high school. You are the best you're going to be to get a starting point.
Right.
So I like to introduce this to young high school athletes because in reality, 98% of high school athletes will not sniff a college athletic scholarship or even a college athletic room, even as a walk on. That is a lot of great athletes that are looking for secondary opportunities. It is 98% of these athletes are looking for what's next. And I love our athletes. Again, coming from an athletic background, you're coachable.
Yeah.
You possess some sort of leadership style, whether you're on a team or playing an individual sport, you possess some sort of leadership that we in our community want. Come join us because those are the people that we're looking for. But the reality is they don't know about it. And like I said, I use myself in an example. If I would have knew about it at 18, my route may have been different. Again, I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I could have went right down the street to Kirtland Air Force Base.
I was gonna say you had the prime location. You should
Yeah,
have seen those dudes running around those short shorts, go on base,
right.
and it would have been right there.
right? The PJs out there training would have been a perfect intro, but we in our community and recruiting, we have to be smarter on who we're going out and looking for and how we're introducing them to these things,
Right.
bringing them out to these developmental standards, bringing out our special warfare counterparts to do introduction to special warfare. Now, the 364, we are truly spoiled in that aspect right now. We have Master Sergeant Select Bunkley running our program, and that man is everywhere with just a complete ball of energy and enthusiasm and excitement. Uh, if he walks into a room, he'll introduce you truly to what I feel we're looking for. But not everybody has that. When I was back in my old recruiting squadron, we did not have a scout like that. So I had to put that hat on and go out and work with these athletes.
Yeah.
And
Funky Bunkley, bro. We appreciate you. Everybody loves Mark.
I think Mark may be the nicest / hardest working person I've ever served with in my life.
Yeah, and he'll fold your clothes while you're still in there with him. You know what I mean?
He,
He can
he
take care
probably,
of business.
yeah, give you a hug, fold your clothes, run run 7 miles, come back, beat you up a little bit in jiu-jitsu, and then
Yeah.
give you another hug and be on with his day.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? I think we've taken a lot of steps in the right direction with folks like Mark out there in the Scout program. I know you started, doing your own thing because you had to. The reason this podcast exists is because it was hard to get the right information out to people. You know what I mean? So like everybody's trying. It's just one of those things that culturally, it's just not at the forefront of everybody's minds. Like if you're that hardworking, student athlete in high school, and you just don't quite make it to the college ranks, and you're a little bit lost in life, like you're not thinking Air Force. You know what I mean? But like you should.
You should, because we're right here. And I think, you know, what you're doing on this amazing podcast and what the recruiting side is doing is we're trying to mesh now. We're really trying to mesh to make it more of a conversation to where hopefully we could share this podcast and individuals that listen share this podcast or maybe send it to their old high school coach to show their new students like this is the information that we want. I'll give a quick shout out to Sergeant Butler, who runs an Instagram page with well over 100,000 followers, and he helps push this information out to the masses. And we hope that this information continues to be pushed out because, again, I'm going to put myself back as that 18-year-old who had the world at his hand in his fingertips, right? Really looking to stay competitive in life because that's as athletes, that's what we crave is that competitive nature. And I had nothing. I had no idea where to take it.
Well, I want to ask you too. After you joined the Air Force, how long was it before you actually knew anything real about the Air Force Special Warfare career fields?
Years. It was years, right? You don't even you get so lost in the introduction to the Air Force and just really developing your own career path at that point that that even becomes further away from your mindset is that special warfare.
Yep.
And you need to strike while the iron is hot. You need to be young, hungry, and motivated to hop in with your teammates, the individuals who are gung ho and ready to teach and ready to shape you and mold you into some of the, I mean, we'll call it what it is, some of the most badass individuals on the face of the earth. We need those guys at the early stages. It does not benefit you to join and to later cross train. It benefits you
No.
to walk in the pipeline young and hungry. Because at 21, I was not hungry for it anymore. Absolutely not. Right? I was married. My mindset was a little bit different. Yeah. So a young marriage. Hey, still married
Bro.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
still
I mean,
married.
if it works, it works. Yeah. Good
It
job.
works. 13 years.
Woo.
She's a tough one though. She'll make sure she can't hear me. But yes, we need those young, hungry athletes at the beginning stages of their special warfare career. It's too hard. There's too many obstacles later in life. The iron is hot when you first graduate. You're still in shape. Your body is, I mean, think about it now. I was helping Master Sergeant Perez move some stuff into his new house. I've been sore for 3 days. We moved a washer. My back still hurts, right? Your body doesn't bounce back like it used to at 18. Your body bounce back. You can do this training without the recovery time that it's going to take you years later.
Well, it's just a matter of opportunities, right? Like the older you get and the further along in your career you get, the more difficult it is to get after those opportunities. Like when you're 18 and you haven't joined yet, you have all the opportunities in the Air Force in front of you, right? All the options. And then if you join and because you didn't know about special warfare, that first retraining window at your 3 year mark, which is guaranteed supposedly, right? Like if you still don't hear about special warfare, if your supervisors don't tell you about it, no one's looking out for you, and they're like, "Hey man, I think you would fit over here. Like you're great. We love you. But I think maybe there's something else for you that maybe you would fit better over here." Because it's not like one is better than the other, right? It's just we all kind of find the place where we fit. Um, and if they never hear about it, they become an NCO. Like pretty soon, they're going to rank themselves out in a very short period of time from that retraining. You know, they're like, "I want to go be a PJ," and PJ's like, "I don't need tech sergeants. I don't need senior staff sergeants. I need senior airmen." And it's like if they don't hear about it, man, that's bad on everybody. You know what I mean? Like I can't believe that there's not like some program where when you make senior airman, you're not pulled into a room and told about everything the Air Force needs and actually told about it instead of just like, oh, here's a list. And it's like, what
Right.
does this mean? You know, I don't know, but nobody makes it over there. It's like that's not true. You know,
Not
especially
true.
like you're already in the Air Force, you know all the things about the military. The stress level of just like changing, you know, is way lower for these retrainees. And we have piles of talent that we are just not even giving them the option.
Right. And no, it's the truth. And our AFSOC mission is the most critical mission that's never looked at, right? It's never looked at the same way that we're going to look at the Air Combat Command and we're going to look at the Air Mobility Command. No one's looking at our special warfare mission with those same bottle glass eyes, like, oh my God, we need to go over there, right? People aren't really doing that. Let me talk to individuals that are potentially looking at joining special warfare, but also maybe want to go that, oh, they're torn between special warfare mission and just joining the Air Force because they want to get out, they want to do something. We don't go away. Air Force recruiting, the REGAF standards do not change. We want you to go and push to your absolute limit your special warfare dream. And if you fall short, like some may, there's not a loss in that. Now you come back to the RegAF side. You've already proved to me and my recruiters that you're dedicated, you're hardworking. We're going to walk you into a great job on the
Yeah.
Air Force side. But don't completely quit your dream of the special warfare pursuit because you're torn between the two. The regular Air Force will be here. But it's hard when an individual goes, well, okay, well, I'm torn between the two. Us as recruiters, we're doing our job. We book you a job that you want, but you're still torn and you want to go to special warfare. But now, guess what? You're on a clock. You have a ship date for basic training. You've almost you've certainly hurt yourself in that special warfare mission because now we are driving you to IFTs. We need you to pass so that we can pull this job away from you.
Yeah.
Like if you're there, you're there. Like we need you diving deep, everything you have, heart and soul, into that Air Force Special Warfare mission until you have nothing left.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to do, you know, and if you don't know about it, and if you can't get the enthusiasm about it, right, and like all the recruiters, like it's a lot. You guys have a big job, and it would be easy for me to sit back here and talk smack about recruiters and not knowing about special warfare and not saying the right things. Obviously, you're one of the exceptions to that you know rule, but it's a big job, and so for the folks out there, we just need to get the word out, and it's going to be on the recruits a little bit, and even for RegAF, right, like there's a lot that you have to do just to get into the Air Force. Like I've told my story before. Like I walked in my recruiter's office, and I think I told you guys, and he was like, "What?" Basically, like, "What are you doing in my office?" You know what I mean? Like you have to work at it just to get into the Air Force. So like, why not put in the extra work to see if you fit in this other place? And so I know it's a lot of work on the recruiters, and like you said, you guys have a huge area in half of California plus up whatever wherever else, Oregon, and it's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a huge area, and I'll say this to all the recruiters out there, all the enlisted recruiters out there, because we do have enlisted recruiters and we have special warfare recruiters. Well, our special warfare recruiters are extremely outnumbered to the amount of enlisted recruiters you have. I personally am not a special warfare recruiter. I am not a special warfare affiliated. I did not come from a special warfare background. I come from an understanding of what the Air Force needs. So, to all the RegAF Air Force recruiters out there, understand that this is a huge mission that we have to fulfill. and that we have to go out there and be comfortable to sell this job, right? If we're not comfortable selling this job, you're not doing the job correctly. You're failing at a very crucial point. So if you honestly do not know about special warfare, well, here's some tips for you. Call over your special warfare recruiter, get a training done, understand it. Listen to the One's Ready podcast. Start to understand their lifestyle, their background, right? And do your research. This whole thing started for me off of blanket research, period.
Yeah.
I researched everything for special warfare because I knew at 18 that would have been a good fit for me. There is some athlete out there somewhere that has no idea this is going to be a good fit for them. And hopefully these conversations eventually reach these kids and they go, let me give it a shot.
Yeah, I think that the biggest foul is just not giving someone the opportunity to try, right? Like by not even presenting the option, because you're trying to get your linguists or whatever else that you're trying to get that month. It's like, man, just get if they're athletic, or I mean, not everybody looks athletic too, right? Like I think one of the reasons we did the podcast too is like I'm here to show you that we're just normal dudes. Like I'm not anything like super special or super athletic or whatever else like that. Like, but like with the motivation, and if you want it bad enough, that kid that walks in that doesn't seem very enthusiastic about anything, like you don't know. Just give him the opportunity. He might light that fire inside, and you might not see it on the outside, but he might do it, or she might do
Honestly,
it. I don't know. Whoever. I don't care.
He or she may do it, and just you're right, giving them the opportunity to go to an IFT, a DFT, any kind of development session, and say, damn, I love this. Like, this was great. Give me more. You don't know what you just unlocked in this potential recruit. Like, They don't have to fit a certain mold. They just have to have the drive to do it. So what we'll talk, what I'll kind of explain by what we mean by that is let's go over some of the fitness standards so individuals out there can understand what they're working towards, right? So these are the IFT standards. And again, you corrected me, sir. Absolutely, it's actually a 65 on the ASVAB. Glad I have my research here.
Sorry.
A general 55 on the ASVAB, not 55, not 65, 55. But for SEER, IFT standards are pull-ups in 2 minutes, 8. Sit-ups in 2 minutes, 48. Push-ups in 2 minutes, 40. Mile-and-a-half run at 11 minutes. And there's no swim standards for SEER. Now, let's break it down a little bit, and this is where I want your expertise in it. Our survival, evasion, resistance, and escape guys, our SEER guys, they can go anywhere that has a flying mission to teach, but they are primarily at McCord Air Force Base, correct?
Yep.
Up in Washington to train air crew members, if they crash land, how to survive in a situation either that they're captured or they're out in the wilderness. How do they survive? Look at it in the most extreme camping you can do. You are a teacher for it. It doesn't get, if you love the outdoors and that is something that calls to you and you love to do that, that is the coolest job that you can get paid a lot of money to do.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and
it's a cool job.
And we see a lot of our SEER specialists, when they do separate, they still go out and teach individuals survival techniques and make more money with that, right? Our EOD standards are also a little bit different. Pull-ups, 2 minutes, just 3. No standards for sit-ups or push-ups, but we do still have that 11-minute runtime. Let's talk about the runtime, right? Because a lot of individuals think, I run, I don't see an issue with it. But have you ever timed yourself, track your heartbeat, and really know when to push it on an actual runtime? If you're not timing yourself on a standard track for 6 laps, you don't know what you're going to run. It's just not possible. You don't know where your gas tank starts and where it ends, right? Until you go out there and you do it.
Well, and one of the big things is if you do it as a standalone event, you don't know what it feels like after you've pumped out your lats doing your pull-ups and your chest doing your push-ups and your core doing your sit-ups, and then 10 minutes later running a mile and a half as fast as you can. Like it's a totally different experience putting all the things together than individually. Like I woke up, I feel good, I ate breakfast, my mom got me dressed and I went out to the track and I ran a mile and a half in perfect conditions. You know what I mean? Like that's not the way it is.
It's not the reality. You gotta work to exhaustion in all of these standards because you're right. The IFT is hitting these all in one day, period. So your body you have to be able to get up and get in the water for our next one. That alone is one of the hardest things to do. If you're not swimming, you don't understand what that lactic buildup does in the water. You think, oh, I'm just going for a swim until like you feel like you're just floating in the water at some point.
Oh my God. Some of the best sleep I ever got when I was training up to move over to the special operations side was on the swim training days. Cause you just go in there and you're just crushing yourself. And then, the rest of the time you're still doing all your runs and all your cows and all your, weightlifting and all the other stuff. And you jump in that water and you just crush yourself for hours. And you get back to your room and it's, it's not even sleeping. You just lose consciousness. It's
your body,
amazing.
your body's like, all right, we're tapping out here, okay? So let's figure
Yeah.
this out. I'm tapping out.
We gone.
We gone. But let's talk about our highest standard for SWOE. So those are our TAC-P, our PJ, our CCT, um, those those high risers, right? Those guys that really get
And the
after it.
SR guys. Let's not forget SR.
My bad, everybody.
I'm
I
sensitive
purposely,
about it. I'm
yeah,
sensitive. It's okay.
I purposely left that out. I wanted to see if you would catch that, but good on you. Good on you. All right, so pull-ups 2 minutes 8, sit-ups 2 minutes 50, push-ups 2 minutes 40. That mile and a half drops down to 10:20. 25-meter underwater swim. You got to do that twice. So you're under, up, turn, back underwater. Has to be completely submerged. And then a 500-meter surface swim in 15 minutes. And that, in the IFT standard, that's any swim that you want. Now, I will say, if you can 500-meter swim doggy paddle in 15 minutes, that's pretty impressive on its own. So a lot of people don't understand. If you don't know how to swim in the water, if you don't know how to breathe, and you don't know how to paddle correctly, you need to get in the water before you start to make this a reality. The water is the great equalizer, right?
Yep.
Let's go back and let's talk to David Goggins in his book. A lot of people don't understand. He wanted to be a PJ, couldn't swim. Couldn't swim.
Yep.
Swimming is a great equalizer. Eventually, I'm sure he's probably a really good swimmer now. I
Yeah.
hope David Goggins hears this. David, what's up, man? If you hear this one day. But that the water is a great equalizer. If you're not swimming, you're not going to succeed in this.
Well, and if you're starting from zero, I recommend like 80 to 90% of your training time should be focused on the run and the swim.
Period.
At least that's how it worked for me. And I was a pretty good runner too. But like we can get you there on cows. We can get you because it doesn't take that long, especially when you're young, to get stronger. That's something, especially body weight stuff. But man, if you can't run and you can't swim, and you're going to be doing that every day, it's not like we give you the IFT too on day one, and then we're done working out for the day. That's not how it works. Like there's more running, there's more swimming. It's every single day you're doing these things. So like it has to be part of your life and not just like I peaked once and this is the best I've ever been. And then like I'm just gonna because if you peak, you're coming down. This needs to be like you could do this on your worst day type of thing.
Yep. And there's the difference too. So you're right. This has to be a lifestyle situation, not again, I had a really good day. I passed. I'm going PJ. Like, no, absolutely not. You have development standards where you get accepted and you have shipping standards. So you still have to retake that initial fitness test again and again. Luckily for us, again, the Air Force is trying really hard here in the 364. Our leadership group is amazing. Senior Master Sergeant Earl is very passionate about pushing this mission. And again, we have Funky Bunkley, who is out here running development sessions all over the coast. But these individuals need to go to those. Do we expect you to pass the IFT day one? Not at all, right? 95% of individuals that come out to those IFTs are probably going to fail that first time in some way, shape, or form. That's fine. Guess what? Get back on the horse. I'll see you for the next one. In the meantime, you need to work out. You need to swim. You need to run. You got to train to pass. We don't expect you to pass day one. We want you to continue to work, though. It's those individuals that just keep on grinding that are going to make it.
Yeah, well, if you set a goal and your goal is to deadlift 400 or 500 pounds, odds are you're not one of those special people that can just walk into the gym and lift up that weight off the floor. It takes time. Everything takes time. And the first time, if you go in there day one, you're not going to be able to do it. And then that's when you make the decision. And that's the first big decision to not quit that you're going to make is if you go in there for the IFT and you fail the first time, what kind of person are you? Are you going to try? Are you going to train? Are you going to spend your own time and effort and blood, sweat, and tears getting to the standard? Or are you just going to be like, well, I guess it's not for me? Well, if that's your attitude, then even in the regular Air Force, you're not going to find a lot of success.
Correct. Right. Let's talk to our Gen Zers out there, our upcoming airmen and guardians and special warfare candidates. We got to get away from this mindset of this instant gratification. We have to get away from it. Our information is consumed at 15-second reels a minute, right? You're just scrolling through Instagram and TikTok. That's not the reality. Instant gratification is not something that you should expect if you want to be successful in this life. You have to put the work in, you have to put the time in, and you have to be comfortable with failure. I love the quote to always fail forward, right?
Yeah.
It's people fail. I have failed in my 13 years in the Air Force all the time. Come up with an idea, didn't pan out, and it's super easy to say, well, I tried.
Yeah.
No, you got to continue to find a way, right? You got to continue to say, I'm passionate about this. I want to make this work. Where do I go for my next step? Who do I contact? Who do I call to work out with? What research can I do? There's so many tools out there for us. It's a cheat code in today's society with all the resources available to people who want to be successful.
Yeah.
You just have to put the work in.
Well, and we talk about this a lot too. It's the being process oriented. You don't view every day as a failure. Like there's plenty of days I go to the gym and I'm not lifting the kind of weight that I want to lift. I'm not, like some days I go do my cardio and it feels amazing. Like once every 3 months. You know what I mean? I'm like, I could go forever. The rest of the days, like it's a struggle just to finish, So like there's no such thing as failure as long as you're making progress. And being focused on that process is super important. And I think for people that are like, well, I'm not really interested in special warfare. It's like, yeah, but if you can't swim, like I don't want to be a jerk about it, but like that's a life skill. Like,
Right?
oh, well, I'm going to go EOD. I don't need to swim. Like if you get to go to those development sessions and you learn how to swim and you're going, SEER or EOD, why wouldn't you put the effort into it? Like, and it's easy as a father now, right? To be like, this is a life skill that's super important. Like, how are you going to save someone? How are you going to make a difference in the world if you don't have certain skill sets or if you're not as capable as you can be? I know we're all busy and it's not like everybody's going to become a great swimmer, but like, yeah, just build up that confidence and learn some of these things. And it's only going to make you better at everything else that you want to do in life.
Correct. Learning that early on in your life will make you very successful. Learning that if you're in a room, you should be pushing to be the best, no matter if it's in a classroom setting, a workout setting, or even just, playing video games. Like everyone should strive to be the best version of themselves. We are all going to come up short in that pursuit.
Yeah.
All the time. But if you're not chasing that next step, what's your plan? What are you going to do after that? Right? Nothing.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Well, I think the plan was for us too, is to get through these questions. I think Peaches is going to murder me if we don't get through these because these get asked a lot. Sorry, I know we're both like very passionate about this, and so like it's easy to just get off on the rails. So we went over the IFT and the DFT requirements. The next one's going to be easy. Can I, or maybe not? Can I join with a criminal record?
It's always a dependent situation, right? It depends on what you did. The recruiter can always run a waiver, look at that waiver and make those adjustments. Obviously, if you have murdered somebody, I don't think you're getting into any branch of the service. So, we could stop there. But
maybe the Marines. I don't know.
They might be actually looking for those right now. We'll see. I'll give the recruiters a call, see if they'll waive that one. But yeah, it really just depends on the category and are you completely through the process? Have you paid off all the fines? Have you served whatever you needed to serve? And where are you at now? We're always going to look at where you're at now. We have a phenomenal commander here in the 364 who does interviews personally when she's pushing waivers because she wants to ask the individual, where are you now in your life? Like, how have you grown and moved from whatever criminal activity that you may have done in the past?
Right. No, that's awesome. So yeah, it depends. And you don't know if you don't check, folks. And that's going to come up a lot. And I know I talk about it a lot on the podcast, but if you don't go ask, and if you don't try to badger someone into doing a waiver and you don't make them spend time on you, And if you're not motivated, it's probably not going to go anywhere. So, next one is, what are the educational benefits available in the, this says AFSW, but the Air Force in general?
Yeah. So one of the greatest things about joining the United States Air Force is we are education oriented, period. No matter which direction that you decide to go in, we want to push education for you. So you're going to have that tuition assistance so that you can pursue your community college of the Air Force degree, which is an accredited school that the Air Force is basically handing you on a silver platter and saying, hey, let's help you get at least at the bare minimum your associate's degree while you're serving. But you can utilize that tuition assistance. You can utilize the Air Force Cool program to go and chase after different certificates. Maybe you're interested in real estate or something along those lines. The Air Force will help pay for all of that. And if that's something that you want to do, that 4-year, 6-year term, which is just our initial terms when you first sign up, and you want to separate and utilize your GI Bill, 1000% you have that in your back pocket. And that GI Bill is phenomenal. It's going to help pay, it's basically going to cover your entire college post Air Force.
Yep.
Or you can be a lifer and you can retire from the Air Force. I have a daughter, she's 4 years old. I got that GI Bill and I put it right in my back pocket. Now, no matter what happens, I know for sure she has college to fall back on.
Dude, I didn't
Because you
think
can
lifer was like a hurtful term until I did 20 and retired. And then people say lifer. I'm like, I got plenty of life left in me, guys. I'm only 40 something years old. I'm not dying. My life isn't over just because I retired. Jeez, that hurts.
Your Air Force life is over, though.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
I guess
Kind
not. I
of.
mean, we're still here, right? We're still talking Air Force.
Yeah. I can't let it
You're
go, apparently.
yeah, you're still blue.
All right. What are the medical and psych requirements, or screening requirements?
So medical, well, okay. Let
That's
me
a
get into this medical.
big question. Yeah.
It's a very loaded gun right now. Medical standards to be accepted now into the armed forces. I say armed forces because this is across the board. Is very difficult. It's no longer like it used to be years ago, to where you can kind of be like, maybe I had it, maybe I didn't. Like now we're gonna run we're gonna run a program called Genesis, where it's actually gonna pull up your medical history. It's gonna completely go through your medical history. So we have to know about those things up front. But luckily there's waivers for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So again, you don't know if you don't ask. You got to contact your recruiter and go over that initial pre-screen process to see, yes, I had asthma at age 9, but I haven't had it since X, Y, or Z. Is this considered a waiver? Yes, let's look at it. We see a lot of those. We see a lot of ADHD diagnosis from childhood, elementary school. Those waivers get approved all the time. You just got to do the proper work to get there. But the big one for Air Force Special Warfare is you cannot have no history of emotional instability. That would automatically disqualify you from that route. What that means is there can be no prior psych treatment. You cannot have any suicide ideations or suicide attempts, diagnosis of depression, things like that in your previous life, because that is Uncle Sam actually taking care of its members in reality. Because I'm sure you could speak to this, the emotional and psychological standpoint that you guys have to go through is a lot more than your average person. And the Air Force is saying, hey, we want you across our ranks. We just don't think that this route is going to be beneficial for you. So maybe not go that way. But that's the biggest disqual, is that emotional instability.
Can you get that waiver if you're retraining though? I got to ask someone that question, because it seems like a lot of this stuff, if you join the Air Force first and then you retrain, once we know who you are, we're a little more relaxed about you giving people waivers, and then the CFMs can give people waivers at that point. But like if you're 18, 19 years old and you were a little bit nuts, or I shouldn't say nuts, whatever, you had these problems earlier on, like we're going to put a ton of stress on you. Like you're going to walk in the door and we're gonna throw you in that boiling water and see what happens. And we've had some bad things happen before, so we're a little sensitive about it.
Yeah, you definitely put them in that boiling water, and some eggs float and some eggs crack, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want the ones that we have an idea beforehand that they're going to crack. We want to make sure that we're taking care of you on the first port. Now, you are correct, and we would need to probably look at it into a deeper dive, but the CFM, the career field managers, can approve um, any kind of exception to policy. And it's more likely if you're active duty already, and you're right, the Air
Yeah.
Force already knows you, and they say, hey, uh, we know that you're going to do really good things. The CFM will approve something like that. But in the very beginning, we're definitely looking at no history of emotional instability. Now, that's not saying that is completely away from what we need. If you had an issue when you were very young and it was a one-time thing, and there's a story behind everything, maybe we can also send that up on the very beginning of your process to the CFM to see if they'll do a waiver for that, if they'll accept you or not. The likelihood, it's not the best, but a good recruiter is always going to ask that question as well, because again, the theme of the podcast is if you don't know, you got to ask somebody, right?
Yeah.
So
I think the thing that Genesis highlighted was how many of us lied to get into the Air Force about our medical history.
yeah, seriously, right?
I'm not saying I did, because
No, me
whoa,
either.
easy.
Yeah.
Maybe I forgot about some stuff. I don't know. You know?
Yeah, I grew up in a different time where, my dad wasn't like, "Hey, let's go to you have a stuffy nose? Let's go check that out."
Yep.
My dad's like, "Go blow it out, go blow it out. You'll be fine. You'll survive."
I was talking to my dad about that just the other day. He's like, "Yeah, we weren't hospital people," because I was like, I had all kinds of things that went wrong, and we never went to
Yeah.
the hospital. So, and it worked out for me. Um, Trying to get through this. Length of contracts. You already talked about this. 4 and 6 years, right?
4 and 6 years are your initial terms.
Okay, and then the big one, benefits and compensation for Air Force Special Warfare folks coming in the door. What do those look like right now?
You're always going to get that bonus up front, right? Because we're looking for the elite of the elite, and we're going to reward you with that. So those initial contracts, they always kind of, we get a little bit of a wave fluctuation, but we're always looking around 40 to $50,000 sign up bonus. So that's in the door, right? That's
Yeah.
18. You make it through the pipeline, right? You don't sign your contract and get that money. You got to push through that pipeline. Let's get that cleared in the air right now. You still got to put the work in. You got to clear the pipeline. But that is a great way to be 18, starting your life with 50 G's hitting your bank account, right?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you're always going to get special duty pay as well. The more training you go to, the more certifications you receive as a special warfare individual. Jump, dive. I'm sure you kind of know a lot more of those as you are in the special warfare community. You get a lot more money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I used to tell the recruiters when they'd come around for their things, and we used to brief them. Like it's you get your SDAP, you get your bonuses. So like when you re-enlist, your bonuses are pretty much maxed out, and that's you can max out up close to 100 G's, or you have to math it
What?
and figure it
Yeah.
out. Um, and then on top of that, there's so many benefits that like you just don't even realize, and I didn't realize for the longest time until you start talking to people. But you're gonna get your clothing allowance, but like if you're at a 2 series unit, most of your uniforms are just given to you, and you're gonna get the newest uniforms and all the like. They hand us like the Cry multicams when they first came out, and we're like, yeah, whatever. Like you just give us stuff, but like those are expensive.
Oh yeah.
And your boots and a whole lot of other stuff and all the cool gear and all the other things. And it's the Air Force, it's not the Army. So unlike the Army, where I had a bunch of bros that maybe I had to, slide them a helmet so they didn't get charged, $3,000 for a Mitch helmet that they were issued in, 2001. What most of the stuff, it's if it touches your skin, you keep it, and it's a little unusual in the armed services or the armed forces. But man, like the gear, the travel, the TDYs, like it's you're really well taken care of if you're Air Force Special Warfare.
Yeah, that special warfare community, those I'm gonna just tell any recruiter that is near a unit that has special warfare, grab some recruits, grab some interested applicants, take a wrestling team, take a football team, go explore that facility, go look at those gyms, because you're gonna walk in, you're gonna be like, well, I'm in the Air Force and I know I'm spoiled to other branches. These guys are even more spoiled when it comes to the stuff that they get. You
Yeah,
guys have so many cool things that you get to utilize and use and train with. Most of these people just don't know because they never went and seen it. Um, Again, being from Albuquerque, I went when I was joining. I went to Kirtland. You saw those cute little shorts, and you're like, man, those guys are some BAs, right? I was watching them throw people in the water, and
yeah.
it was insane. But looking back at it now, I would have 1,000% have loved to seen that at 17, trying to make a
Yeah.
decision for my life. I would have loved to see all of this stuff. There's going to be thousands upon thousands of young high school athletes that are going to be without opportunities every single year. All my ask for all the recruiters out there, at least make this an option for them. At least go and talk to the athletic directors at your school and say, hey, we know that your guys are going to graduate college, and some of them are not going to get the scholarships that they were once hoping for. Can I
Yep.
give a presentation? Can I bring a special warfare recruiter in here? Can I bring over some TAC P guys from the base to talk about what they've done in the Air Force? Can I just make an introduction to another path potentially for some of these students?
Yeah.
Because that's what I did, and it paid off so fruitfully for me. Not only did I get some great young men and women into our special warfare community, but I built such an amazing relationship with my athletic community in my AOR, going out to these sporting events, being a part of the community. You can't beat it. You can't beat it. It's the most reward Air Force recruiting. I will say one last thing is the most rewarding job that you could probably do later on in your career, right? Because most of us are staffs and techs and masters and so on and so forth. But nothing re-blues you than meeting a kid who's looking for opportunity, granting him that opportunity, he or she, watching them come back from basic training and their technical training in their uniforms, looking sharp, going to a brand new place, going to Germany or Italy or Japan, and the excitement, and you help put that into motion for them to be successful. Can't beat that.
Yep. Yeah, I'm at that stage where like I remember I was on here trying to record the other day, and I was talking about like all the way that my career worked out and all the people along the way that helped me, get to where I was going. And it's hard not to get like a little emotional about it, because like, yeah, without these folks, like it's you build a life, like you have all these experiences and all these opportunities, and it's wild, and it's hard for certain folks to see that. But I think, and you as a recruiter are, I don't want to say you're different than all the other recruiters I've ever met, but like you see the big picture, and you're not just trying to hit your numbers. You're trying to change people's lives. And I don't want to get too like cringy about it, but like that's what you're doing. You're giving people opportunity to get out of their situation and experience things and to push themselves and to find out what they're made of. And those are huge things, especially for young folks.
To me, there's no cringe in that conversation. I did join this. I chose to become a recruiter because at one point in time, I needed an opportunity, and that was granted to me. Shout out Max Sergeant Franco, my recruiter, who's still in recruiting, working at
Dang.
higher headquarters. That's my guy. Appreciate you. But that's the reality of it, right? I needed an opportunity. Someone granted it to me, and now 13 years later, I'm a master sergeant. I'm in that position now,
Yeah.
and I don't take that for granted. People can call it cringe. People can call it what it wants, but I've seen individuals, and I have a ton of stories of young men and women who needed this opportunity.
Yep.
Not everybody's granted that silver spoon. Not everybody's granted the opportunities that others are. You can be, and we don't look at you sideways, backwards, anything like that. If you come from a rich family, a poor family, you're black, white, Hispanic, we don't care if you had both parents, one parent, grandparents. We don't look at that. We look at your character as an individual and who you are going to be on our team. And the Air Force, the military in general, is that great melting pot of cultures and religions and races, and everything that you could want, you'll have. And you'll look around one day in your unit and you'll say, this is the most unique experience that I could ever have.
Yep.
I'm living in Germany with my best friend being from West Virginia and my other friend being from El Salvador, and we all hang out and play Madden at the end of the day, and I wouldn't change it for the world because that's the opportunities that we present. Your hometown, boys and girls, will always be there. Those same people that are working those same jobs, trust me when I say they will always be there. Is it hard leaving your family? Absolutely. They will be there,
Yep.
and they will be doing the same things that they were doing when you left. And when you come home to visit, they'll be doing those same things. It's sometimes, and I like to tell this to all of my potential applicants right now, it's completely okay to be selfish. Think about you, think about your future. Don't have to put everybody else in front of you. Be selfish and make a decision.
Well, you can only give back what you've already earned, right? So
Correct.
you gotta put in the work on the front end. Like you said, recruiting towards the end of your career, it feels good because you've got all this stuff that now you can give back to those folks and give them the same opportunities, and it's a beautiful thing. We need to keep moving forward. I'm sorry. Can I choose my base assignment?
For special warfare, it really depends on your career path, and that career path has to be in whatever base you're trying to go to. So your unit has to be attached to it. So whether it be a rescue unit, um, a joint Army base, or a solo Army base with an Air Force detachment. So yes and no. So we'll
Yeah,
say that.
that's really dependent, and I'm not saying don't worry about it yet. And the bases are what you make them for the most part.
Oh yeah.
And then so the last two questions, and these are big ones, is how do I prepare? Tips on physical, mental, and all that other stuff. I think we talked about a little bit. And then the last one too is what are the family dependents? I think we should cover that one first. What are the family and dependents benefits for Air Force Special Warfare?
So with special warfare, REGAF, all of them, our dependents are so well taken care of. Um, you are away a lot, but the armed services does such a great job of developing a community. So your families always have other families to lean back on, but your medical, your dental, on base education, on base childcare, the commissary, which is an on base grocery store, the exchange, which is like an on base mall. Everything is right there for you and for your family to utilize and be taken care of. And that's also not going into a deep conversation about um, housing allowance and substance, because those are such huge conversations that people don't realize. But I get my paycheck and I also get my rent paid for. My
Yeah.
paycheck is not covering my rent. I have a completely separate payment that I get each and every month to pay for that. So individuals that are married with families will also receive that same benefit.
Yeah, and it's not always going to be easy. You're not always going to be like rich or anything, but we're going to do our best to take care of you, and can we talk about, I don't think we've ever brought it up on this podcast before, is the on base schools are typically like some of the very best schools wherever you're at. The
True.
DoD school systems, and this was super surprising to me when I found out, but you start looking into it after you have kids and, like, looking at the grades for all the schools in your area, and those DoD schools are fantastic.
Yeah, just to touch on that. So I'm stationed at Travis Air Force Base. I have a 4-year-old daughter getting ready for kindergarten. That conversation is huge in my household. Where are we going to send our baby to school? I only have one kid, and it's a girl. She's spoiled rotten. She gets whatever she wants from me.
Of course.
So we're having that conversation, and unbiased, looking around every school in our area, Travis Air Force Base Elementary School is the #1 rated school in our area.
Yep.
There's a
It's
great system on base.
It's the way it is, and I mean, that's something to think about too. Like if you have kids, start looking to get your name on that list or whatever it is, because it's not always easy to get your kids into the on-base schools. I'm not sure that that's true, but I think it's not always the easiest thing to get your kid into that school, or there's a process to it that you got to go through.
Yeah.
But highly
Yeah.
recommend. And then the last thing we're going to talk about, while we have a few more minutes, is your tips for these folks that either hear about it and go see a recruiter, or they want to start working on it before they even come talk to you.
Yeah. Um, here's I won't go. I know I've been going off a few times. I'm sorry. I like to talk. Very passionate. Love this career path. I love the Air Force. So I'll keep the tips short and sweet. Research. Prepare yourself mentally and physically. Make the call and ask the questions. If you're not doing your research, you do not care. If you do your research and you know what you have to do and you're not doing it, you do not care. And if you're not asking the questions to get you to where you need to be, then you do not care. Recruiters are humans. They're going to make mistakes. Sometimes they're not going to answer their phone, right? I think it's statistically like every 5 or 6 Army recruiters, there's one Air Force recruiter. So there's not a ton of Air Force recruiters, but we do work very hard. We're cradle to the grave style recruiters. We bring you in, we meet you out of your high school or wherever, and we get you to all the way until you ship off for basic military training. But you have to be ready to work. If your recruiter asks you for something, get it done. If you are looking to join this special warfare community, the only workouts that you're doing should not be at a development session. You should be working out every day. That includes eating right, hydrating properly, post-recovery workouts. You need to be doing everything to get yourself into the best shape that you've ever been in, and then continue to push that standard all the way through your career, because you're going into some of the hardest, most badass communities that you can ever be a part of, and you don't want to go in there with a poor work ethic. So develop that work ethic young and keep driving it forward.
Yeah, I think no one's going to care if you don't care, right? No one's going to
Correct.
come knock on your door and be like, we heard that you're a special person. Would you like to? Here's an opportunity. That's not how it works, y'all. And that's not how life works. And so just get after it right now. And you're going to be successful as long as you try and you don't quit, right? Like you just got to get going and get that process going. So the last thing we do is I know you already gave your tips, but we always ask folks for advice. You know, like our year groups that folks that listen to the podcast, anywhere from like 13 all the way to that 41 and beyond. But especially for the younger folks, especially if they have time to prepare before they're even 17 or 18, what's your advice to those people out there?
Yeah. So my personal advice is don't fear failure. Uh, Enjoy the journey. So if you have the opportunity to put yourself into a situation where you may fail, then you're putting yourself into some good opportunities, right? It's okay to fail as long as you learn and you continue to push forward. If you aren't scoring well on your practice test, keep studying. If you're not passing the developmental standards, keep working out. If you're not succeeding in your Air Force career, keep pushing. That's the reality. Is you said it best, sir. Nobody should care more than you, and you should be that person for everybody, because remember that there's somebody looking at you, whether you see them or not. You're motivating somebody else. So don't become stagnant in your life. Push forward, be successful, be great, and then one day you can have a cool podcast and hang out with cool people.
That's the goal, right? Is to come on
That's
someday. You can be a guest on the One's Ready podcast. That's everybody's goal.
I think I've reached the pinnacle of my career at this point right here. I don't know where to go from here, but I'm so excited.
Dude, but thank you so much for coming on. You know, we love to have the recruiters on. You guys answer a ton of the questions, and I think it just helps to have someone besides, you know, the three of us on here. You know, the medical stuff, all that other stuff. It's like, man, it's a lot of dependent, but you got to go see your recruiters. So, dude, I really appreciate you coming on. Funky Bunkley, thank you so much for linking us up, and for everybody out there, hit up onesready.com, check us out, leave us reviews, yada yada. You guys know the drill, and we will catch you all later. And thanks again, man.